in our generation, they no born you. You tell your mama say you won't play football. You won't even have the courage to open your mouth to say that what you want to do with your life is to play football, or you want to do music, or you want to go into art, or you want to go into theater art and all. You have to be a doctor. If you are not a doctor, you have to be a lawyer. If you're not a lawyer, you're an engineer. If you're not any of those things, you're a failure.
These two gentlemen here, right, have given us a purview of how millennials feel about Gen Zs, right?
Okay.
And if you want to, coming from that angle now, it's obvious until two generations can learn to work together, the future is going to have problems.
We are learning to work together. That's why we are marrying your generation.
You are doing it because you have to.
No, yes,
you are doing it because you have to. And then at the same time, no, that's the thing.
We don't
stop
have to.
seeing us as problem cases.
We don't have to predict.
You need to stop seeing us as problem cases.
Okay, you guys are not problem cases. You guys are problem.
Mr. Mo, I think you understand better. Please, Messi and Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Where do they fall?
They're millennials. Yeah.
Beautiful. How long have they been holding this title of?
Over 15 years.
Where are these Gen Z footballers?
They're on Instagram. I really just wanted to know about. They're on Instagram.
Let me just predict.
They are Instagram footballers. They are content creators doing football content.
Hello. Welcome to the Why Podcast. Well, this is a podcast where we question the status quo, the narratives, and everything that seem to be a culture in today's society. Well, do I need to call my name? Just in case, for record purposes, my name is Amazing. All right, so we are about to get a very interesting conversation started, and it's all about millennials and Gen Z. If I have to coin it a little bit, I'm going to be talking about millennials in the Gen Z era. Because according to scientific records, the Gen Z era, or the millennial era, started from the year 1980 till 1995. So we're in a borrowed generation. Oink, oink. So that means that at this point, or at this time of life, how is the generation Y, popularly known as millennials, navigating this very peculiar generation? And when it comes to Gen Zs, what stands them out? All this and much more we'll be diving deep into on this episode of the Why Podcast. Don't forget, keep following us across our various social media handle and on YouTube. Also while you click the subscribe button, also click for notification to be updated on our latest episode. All right. So I have gentleman and a lady. I wanted to call her a B, but I had to hold myself together. So let's get it started. On my very beautiful left is Mr. Deke.
Drum roll. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Is that all?
That's
all that hype.
Move now, move.
Okay. Why I have on my right the fabulous, most distinguished, not like other, Mr. Moore.
All that for me.
Totally match the hype.
Do you want anything from me? Okay. Hi guys, you're welcome to the Why Podcast.
Yes, and the lady with the B. I kept telling her that her buttons need to go lower to capture the personality she should be.
I support the motion.
This is profiling, but okay.
Yes. But then Nita Ray is here.
Hello.
Okay, so guys, millennials and Gen Zs, we have established that this is a Gen Z era, literally. So when we talk about Gen Zs, what are the unique qualities about them? I'm going to start with you, Mr. Deke, to, when you meet a Gen Z, what is that first impression they give you?
Okay, so when I meet a Gen Z, I think I'm expecting to see an ambitious person, a mixture of ambition and irrationality. right? I think that's the experience I'm hoping to get when I interact with Gen Zs.
Take that again.
I hope to see an ambitious person, and I equally hope to see a little bit of irrationality. Right? That blend of ambition, and I'm ready to be rational.
Irrational.
Right? I'm ready to...
Well, irrational is relative. Are we saying irrational as in being carefree or irrational as in being stupid? Sorry.
Irrational as in taking risk. Okay. Irrational as in risk taking. So I'm not going to play by the book. I'm going to do things that every other person thinks may not be cool at this particular point in time. So I'm just going to do things. There's no laid down principles for me to follow. Even if they were, I'm not going to follow those principles. I think that's what stands out for me when it has to do with Gen Zs. Ambition, irrationality. Okay. Ambition, another way to put it, ambition and risk-taking.
Risk-taking.
Right, that's what I'm hoping to get when I interact with Gen Zs.
I'm going to revisit that part.
All right, good.
So, Mr. Moore, so Gen Zs and, what Mr. Deke just said they are, when we break it down to their character, their day-to-day character, does that fit?
Yeah, definitely. It does fit. And I think Kemfon Decade is being very nice. I think Gen Zs, they're the people that throw caution to the wind. That's where he talks about, I know Nita just feels like, no, I'll be on your side. You get. But people that actually throw caution to the wind. Now, the thing is that when you say throw caution to the wind, it's not all bad. You get, like he talked about, taking risk. Taking risk could be a good thing. Could also be a bad thing depending on the context of the risk being taken. So Gen Zs are those people that throw caution to the wind, and to some extent, it works for them in the sense that they seem to should I say achieve things quite earlier than the millennials. You get achieve things quite earlier than the millennials. I said they seem to. When I say achieve things, it's relative. It's relative. When I say achieve things, they could start things. They could start businesses while they are in school. Something that millennials did not really have the option, of doing. Not like the millennials did not have the idea to do, but they did not have the option to do because, in that generation, the thing is just go to school, focus on one thing. Like, the millennials did not have the option of being, should I say, jack of all trades. Just focus on one thing pay time,
like
one thing pay time.
Being versatile.
Yeah, versatile. That would be the word. But I think, the Gen Zs, they have, more options than we. So they throw caution to the wind. They can't do anything.
I see. Yeah. Nita Ray. Hi.
Hello.
Well, for the purpose of profiling, I choose to tag her as the Gen Z of this discussion. So, how do you feel?
Well, I've been profiled a lot. I'm still here to tell you something.
Okay. So now, when we, the Gen Zs have been described as the most publicized, trendiest, and, the biggest conversation generation of all times. And when we look at the Gen Zs and all of that, could we say that there is a symbol of freedom that millennials crave for? Or there's more?
Why do I feel like that is an on-the-spot trap question? Like, trap the bird, keep her there, put her in chains and lock her up in a cage. But okay, I would say that Gen Zs are very free-spirited. A typical Gen Z does not admire a 9-to-5, for instance.
So which means a white-collar job is not their thing?
Well, most of them, if they do, it's temporary because they have other things in sight. But Gen Zs, are more free-spirited, more liberal. They're, and the rave about Gen Zs being the trendiest generation, I think it would be because the Gen Zs are eager to get their fingers burned early. They're eager to try new things. They're eager to go off the boat and just sell off. And, there's no hold back when it comes to Gen Zs. Okay. And, like Mr. Moore said, throwing caution to the wind, it's a two-sided thing. There are so many startups in the Gen Z era. I'm not saying there weren't startups in the millennial era. What I'm saying is that
successful startups.
Yeah, there are successful startups too. they're daring to do things that our, I wanted to say our ancestors.
Wait, who are the ancestors? Millennials? Nah, yeah, you're calling for war.
We're not that old.
You're calling for war.
We're not
Who are the
that old.
ancestors?
I didn't say it first. I mean, if I said it, but mine was a slip of tongue, so you could forgive me for that one. So I would say that Gen Zs are not curious. Gen Zs are not looking to find all the answers and connect all the dots before they get started. They're willing to get started and figure it out on the way. So yeah, there's a two-way thing. Throw caution to the wind, burn your fingers early, learn on the job. But there's also the side where you can find a little, some quantity of recklessness. But I mean, nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Wait, hold on. Mr. Moore,
Yeah?
there's something I need you to take up on that.
Okay, what did hold on.
There's something she said about, not waiting for all the I's to be dotted and the T's to be crossed. Could that was possibly what the problem was with the millennials? They were waiting for perfect times, perfect opportunities, perfect success, perfect, they just wanted things perfect before taking the step. Could that have been
It
could have been, the setback that's the
It could
millennials
have,
experience.
because like I said earlier, the way our parents, we the millennials, groomed us, brought us up. They brought us
Oh,
up.
so you're a millennial?
I am.
Okay.
Yeah. So they, I don't understand. You're profiling me now. but
She profiled me. What did you think she was going to do to you?
But to be fair, I'm a millennial. But I think there's a part of me that mentally is just
PK
mentally.
side,
I'm
PK
millennial.
side.
I'm millennial. I'm mentally very young.
Okay.
Okay. So. Yeah, I think that is true, because most millennials, want, to figure it out first before they start. And I think that is generally a problem, trying to figure it out before you start. Sometimes it's good to start and figure it out along the way, learn as you are starting and all of that. But do I really blame? Not like I'm trying to throw blame, but I think the problem of most millennials would still go back to the parents. You understand? The way we were brought up. We're brought up with this, this mindset. Now, the typical advice you would get would be, go to school. When you're done going to school, you get to
job.
school,
Or in
get a
conclusion.
good degree, you understand, and you would have a job.
So let's say, in a nutshell, the millennials were taught to do it one step at a time.
And we were not sold the reality. I think the Gen Zs, they've been sold the reality. A typical Gen Z in year one knows that there is no job waiting for me at the end of school. So they start thinking of, what can I do, you understand, to sustain myself through school. And, by the time I'm done with school, I would have built something. I would have been something in this field. But now, one generation, it was just good. Like, a typical, my personal experience, I remember in my 200 level, I started starting a business. And my first time mom told me, Ikpa, you have to choose what you want to do. Do you want to go to school or you want to do a business? Because you cannot do both.
Even when you could.
That's how the business that. I remember at some point, I said, okay, let me go and learn barbing. Let me barb my hair. It was a holiday. I'm like, well, you should be reading. What do you want to use barbing to do? They didn't really see the reason why you should.
Right now, I would have been a professional barber.
I would have gone far. Really, I would
You
have
would
gone
have been
far.
more the barber.
You man. So I mean, those things really affected us, and it now makes millennials, kind of laid back. You get to start.
Okay.
But when we actually start, we go all the way. But then, that's why I say they throw caution to the wind. They just go in, I don't care how this thing goes out, anyhow it won't be, make it be. They will just go in and just do it. And sometimes it works. Other times it doesn't work.
Hello, Mr. Decade. I know you have a lot to say, but with everything that has been said, could we be justified to say that the millennials at some point became stuck in between living the dreams the dreams of our parents, the laws, the principles, everything that was laid down, while still trying to navigate the Gen Z life?
So if the millennials are stuck, absolutely. I agree completely that the millennials are stuck. Howbeit, I think that the millennials are, in my opinion, the most liberal generation, right? And when we say Gen Zs are the most talked about generation. I feel like Gen Zs are most talked about because it's their season to be talked about. I remember we were also, as millennials, right? We were also talked about. But it's the Gen Z era, so the Gen Zs are actually talked about. But this is one peculiar thing that stands out for me with the millennials. I feel like the ability to work with the generation before them, which I think are the baby boomers, and work with the Gen Z generation. So the millennial generation are pace setters. Every courage the Gen Z generation has had, they have drawn strength from the millennial generation. And we speak to entrepreneurship, we speak to this irrationality, we speak to their daring ability. Most of them actually get that courage from the millennial generation. Look at the mentors of the Gen Z generation. It's mostly millennials. Millennials didn't exactly have those set of people to look up to. We navigated our path by ourselves because the generation before us did not encourage rascality of any form.
I was expecting a counter to that.
Right, so
not necessarily a counter. I think the point he has made. I think let me make it more relatable. Let me bring it back home now. For example, you find in homes where among the siblings you have millennials and Gen Zs. Now, just like he said, the millennials, you get the Gen Zs that are now maybe very outspoken, very, in the house they can tell their parents they don't want to do A, they want to do B. They now have that courage because the predecessors in that home, which are the millennials, laid that foundation. They paid that price for them to be that outspoken. I mean, in the context of family, and I just want to buttress his point, bring it back home, but I really don't have any counter.
So millennials actually create a balance.
Yeah.
So they are, in quote and unquote, hot-headed, and they are also cooling systems. So they are the go-between between the Gen Zs and any other generation before us. They are the go-between the irrationality and the Gen Zs and the people who try to stabilize. So what the millennials do is that, look, you can be rational, you can take this risk, but let's measure this risk, right? Let's try to understand, why should we do A, why should we do B, right? And of course, if you want to achieve success, you must look at the past, look at the present, and look at the future, right? And my biggest advice to anybody who wants to succeed in this Gen Z generation is pick mentors from 3 generations, right? Pick from the generation before you, pick from your generation, and of course, pick from the Gen Zs. So you understand the past, you understand the present, and you understand the future. At the millennial stock, yes, we are. We have a generation that is just very careful before us, and we have a generation that is completely rational ahead of us. So we are kind of stuck in between. But I think millennials are doing a perfect job to help Gen Zs navigate life.
But is that perfection really reflecting in our accomplishments and fulfillment? Because that's important.
So really, I feel like...
For instance, we had parents who, in their 30s, already knew their wealth base. Can that be said for the millennials?
Yes, of course. It's just that so again, like I said, we have a generation before the millennials who are perfectionists in the sense that they are by the book people. And we have millennials who are in between. Should we go by the book or should we be crazy? Millennials don't have any example of craziness.
Yeah.
They don't have any example, right? The Gen Zs have an example in millennials. Look at every industry. We could mention any industry. The pace setters in those industries are mostly millennials.
Agreed.
Right, so they are mostly, like I said, the millennials are a pace setter generation, right? The Gen Zs really are just following, right? I don't mean to say that out loudly.
I don't know why. I feel Nita is boiling.
Yes, I feel it too. So, baby girl. So now, what's up? Say your mind.
Well, first, I'm not boiling.
Okay.
I am as graceful as
Gen
a
Zs.
lighthouse at sea.
But then Gen Zs are being said to be the next best thing after Jesus Christ died for our sins.
To an extent.
They're not as good as sliced bread.
It depends on the sliced bread you're talking about. But, I do agree with what, Dikit has said to an extent. I do agree because, especially with the example that Mr. Moore gave, I'm a first child. I had to rebel a lot. When I see my siblings do things that they do, I'm like, hi, I really took the strides for you guys. Because they were, and the thing about gaining experience or having a person to model from the previous generation is that you will create outliers. They will go over the age. So while the millennials are pace setters, like Dickett said, we have a lot of outliers on the Gen Zs because there's really no boundary. So when you talk about our irrationality, like you like to say it, you also have to look beyond, look to the fact that there are no boundaries to our love for adventure, our love for going into the unknown. You get?
I feel like there should be boundaries actually.
Well. People, there are different schools of thought. For instance, in creativity, we say, well, creativity should not have boundaries. But then there are people who think that without boundaries, everything will fall apart.
I think abuse is imminent.
Yeah,
everything will fall
there
apart.
Should be boundaries.
But how far? The question is, how far is too far? And then, how
is there even supposed to be a too far?
That's
because I feel like jumping off the mountain, is that too high?
But there are people who are doing bungee jumping. It was not a thing before. So the thing is, I'm trying to create a balance. The thing is, you can go beyond that place that, the millennials thought, it's too careless. It's too, you can have, now let's use that bungee jumping example. You can have a strap on to secure you, to make sure that you can still go that how far is too far. But at the same time, recklessness is not paying attention to consequences.
So when you have the strap on, that in itself is a boundary. The difference is that the Gen Z wants to jump. The millennial guy is saying, look, you need to have a strap on.
A strap on, yeah.
Right? So if you look at it, if we take it from your example and we talk about maybe colors, for instance, there are 5 primary colors, right? Yeah. And then you can make any other thing you want to make, but there's a boundary, right? Even in music, there's a boundary.
And I would say,
right?
I would say that that when you guys talk about, you make it sound like we just came and borrowed everything from you, but you borrowed from the generation before you.
No,
that
I'm not
of caution, sense of modality, that sense of balance,
clearly.
That sense of let's not go too far, lest we wander off the track, but at the same time, let's stay on the track and still give room to explore.
That's
where you got it from. That's where you came from.
Being the generational elder statesman.
That's the thing about being a middle-born.
The difference is that why I agree with you to a large extent that we borrowed certain things. Truth is that the generation before us did not even give us any ability to do anything crazy at all.
At all, yeah.
It was a straight jacket thing.
By the books.
You finish school, so using school as an example, you finish school, you get a job. Finish. What we have done for you guys, and I think you should applaud us, what we have done for you guys is that we have told you, you can get a job, which is why you guys are now open to internships. We didn't have that opportunity. No. You can get internships.
But you had to apply for it.
No, even now, you still have to apply, in fairness. But the thing is this.
The options were very limited.
It was limited.
Very limited, yeah.
Right? So the thing is, we have told you guys, look, you can do your thing, but you can get a job and learn. And then you go and do your thing. If you get into university, hopefully, at 16, 17, right? If you do an internship, your first year, your second year, your third year, by your fourth year, you can do anything you want to do. You will be 21 or 22. And you can still start early. We didn't have that opportunity.
I don't think. Right? I beg to differ. I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I'll tell you why. I know of boomers that talk about the good old days. There were opportunities. In fact, you guys had a lot of opportunities to even, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this on side, but even travel outside for studies.
I'm not a boomer, so I can't speak for them, actually.
I have experienced that. You're talking about what they did for you.
No, I
wasn't
speaking to the absence of opportunities. That wasn't what I was speaking to.
No, you were saying that there were limited opportunities, and I'm saying that no, it's not the
millennials.
He's saying for the millennials that there were limited opportunities, and he's saying that they took it.
Or could it be that the opportunities that were available were not millennial suitable?
Well, that is another way. I think that's another way to look at it.
Let me paraphrase what I said for better understanding.
Okay.
Look, what I'm saying is that the generation before us, the boomers, right, did not exactly create options for millennials.
Yeah.
It was a straight jacket. Finish your school, get a job. What the millennials have done for the Gen Zs is finish your school, do what you want to do, or while in school, you can do what you want to do. Additionally, the importance of learning. Right? That is what the millennials have done for the Gen Z, right?
So
you can do what you want to do, but please just learn a little bit before you go crazy.
Kim, I think my working would just be to bring things back home and make it very relatable.
Please.
A typical example is this. In our generation, they no born you. You tell your mama, say you won't play football. You won't even have the courage to open your mouth to say that what you want to do with your life is to play football, or you want to do music, or you want to go into art, or you want to go into theater art and all. You have to be a doctor. If you are not a doctor, you have to be a lawyer. If you are not a lawyer, you are an engineer. If you are not any of those things, you are a failure. You are a complete failure. So you have to live your life to see how you can.
Banker.
Accounting and all those stuff. So anything outside that, you are a failure in their books. But now we now have the Gen Zs that now have more courage to tell you from secondary school they want to sing songs.
Because the courage is because link it.
People have opened the doors.
But you guys did not wait. You guys, you just said that you did not have. They not born you well to do that.
Courage to say
from when
action are not the same
that
thing.
Is why you realize that
we did it on the side.
Most millennials are doing well. Would tell you I rebelled.
Yeah.
I left home. And my father did not support me.
There are
a lot of that story within the millennials than with the Gen Zs. You only say Gen Z that say, "Oh, my parents did not support me to do this thing, so I left home."
But the trajectory still seems the same. You know why I'm saying so?
Yeah.
For instance, I have boomers as parents.
Yeah.
I don't have millennial, elder siblings and all of that.
Yeah.
So I was directly mentored, parented by boomers.
Yeah.
And the trajectory was the same for me that I had to rebel. My parents wanted me to be a doctor. So who are you going to say that I learned to rebel
but
from?
do you now also know that there is a new culture that makes spanking of a child gradually illegal?
Mm-hmm.
It happens. Yeah, it's happening rather.
While millennials,
spanking was the order of the day.
Spoil the rod.
So let me address that. Now the thing is that you have to look at it outside the confines of your family. Now, you may be the first, but you realize that even your parents, they are also learning, not necessarily from home. Now they're also learning to be liberal because the world is also becoming liberal. So you fighting now, you may not have fought as you would have fought if this was 2010. Right? You get what I'm saying? You would not have fought as much because there's something I had wanted to say earlier. The thing is that there's one tool that the Gen Zs have, which is a very important and critical tool that we're not talking about, and that is media. Our generation did not have media because at that time, media was just very young. Social media was very young. I remember as of 2009 that I opened my Facebook, you have to go to a cyber cafe, buy time, sit down for 2 hours to do Facebook.
2 hours. You could afford to buy time for 2 hours. 15 minutes, 30 minutes.
To do Facebook. Then, if you have 50 friends, you are a big man. Now, social media did not have this reach that we are reaching. Now, in this generation, I can stay in my house and reach someone far away in US just from my videos. So the world is now more liberal. Even parents in this generation, they are now more liberal, because for example now, parents now let me put it this way. Their parents now, they are now saying their children must play football. Why? Because we've now seen the success that football brings.
Yeah.
Their parents now that see Burna Boy and they are proud of it, but they might not like his persona, but they love the success. So if you now tell parents, okay, I want to be a musician, chances are...
she spoke about her family and said she did not have anybody to look up to as per millennial wise, and I think the biggest influence of a child may not necessarily be from home.
Yeah, she
was in school. You were mixing up with people who probably had other generations, people that they were interacting with every single day. So you may have picked up those traits of rebellion. It may not have necessarily been from home. Also, you know that beyond the Gen Z and the millennial thing, there are normal personality traits.
I was going to come to that.
Right?
I was going to come to that because for me, as a child, a lot of my exposure, right, came from inside out. That's where a
By
lot
inside,
of...
do you mean?
It came from my person.
Your person? Oh,
yes,
okay.
my person.
Okay, great.
I'm more likely to ask questions where they say, don't ask questions. Just keep quiet and go like that. I'm going to reach there and I'm going to ask a question, right? But for somebody, so we have to be able to give...
That's a millennial trait, actually.
We don't have to...
That's a millennial trait, actually.
I would not say this is the problem. Well, I'm sorry to digress, but the problem now is that we characterize personality traits into millennial, and Gen Zs.
Influence.
So
But our
another-
topic is
Influence.
Gen Z
Influence.
and
in other
millennials.
words,
So
could we
for
say
Mr.
that-
Moore,
okay.
Mr. Moore, for instance, now is a millennial, right?
Yeah.
But you can see that he understands Gen Z traits and possesses some Gen Z traits.
That's true.
Coping. He has decided to cope with it. So the thing is, when you say he possesses, here, when you learn, you can learn something.
learn something.
So it's not like he possesses. He has decided that, look, I'm going to learn this for the purpose of
He
this.
adopted it.
When you
Yeah,
say he
adopted.
cannot possess, what you're saying is that individually, application wise to him, those characteristics cannot come from within him.
There are reasons why these things are grouped, why these generations are grouped.
Yeah.
Because people within this subsect are more have a
Something in
tendency to
common
behave like
in
this.
in a particular manner.
Of course, there are going to be exceptions to every rule,
Yeah.
but there's a tendency for them to behave in this particular way. That is why we have this group.
Predominantly, because it's just like okay. Or one is because it's just like when we talk about personality traits, you can be sanguine, but
Yeah.
there's something about you that gives the impression that you are another thing.
Melancholy, yeah.
Melancholy.
Yeah.
So I think there's that. Then again, our interactions, the books we read,
Yeah.
what we expose our minds
Yeah,
to, the videos we
definitely.
consume, these things form like
They inform our person and our journey,
Yeah, your
definitely.
person and your journey.
Yeah.
Then the company you keep. For example, there are people that are Gen Zs, but they enjoy companies of people way older than them. If you are in a company of people that do not think in your generation, you after a while you start thinking like them because of the people that
environment
influence you.
dictates behavior.
Yeah,
If
definitely.
you-
Okay, so I had to interrupt all that banter because I just want to understand something. Does it mean that being a Gen Z now comes naturally rather than being nurtured? Because that's what it seems you're saying.
For me, I would think is a bit of both. It's a bit of both. Now, why do I mean it's a bit of both? The thing is that now for a generation to be categorized, it means there's something that binds them together. They have something in common that binds them together. So if you say, oh, okay, that's why they say, okay, millennials behave like this, Gen Zs behave like this. I think that's the natural part. But it could also be nurtured because at the end of the day, when you realize when you say someone is a Gen Z, if I'm Gen Z, I'm being surrounded by Gen Z, chances are I would behave like the Gen Zs. If I'm millennial, I'm being surrounded by Gen Zs, chances are I would behave like the Gen Zs. If I'm a Gen Z, I'm being surrounded by millennials, chances are I'll behave like the millennials because, I'm picking up something, That is why even we as millennials, we still pick up things from the baby boomers because we learned from them. So I believe that this trait, or should I call it trait, or this ability to be a Gen Z or to be this, it's inborn and is also nurtured. But again, whatever is inborn can be watered to grow. You get whatever is inborn. There is nothing. Even if you are a born musician, you are a fantastic singer, a composer. If you do not nurture that thing to grow, you won't make the best out of it. Okay. So there's a combination of both nurturing and it being nature.
So what lessons is it expected of millennials to learn?
Why
in the
is
Gen
it
Z
millennials
era?
learning?
It's a two-way thing. Don't take it personal. Gen Zs
Oh,
learn
okay.
from
I
millennials
just
and
need to be
millennials
sure that
learn
it's a
from
two-way.
Gen Z.
Is it a two-way?
It has to be a two-way
I just
thing.
wanted to be sure that
Can
it's a
I-
two-way
Even
thing.
a teacher, even a teacher learns
Can
from
I
a
cause
student.
fight? Amazing.
No,
I feel like-
Joseph,
I
even
feel
a
like-
teacher learns from a student.
I feel like millennials
Learning
are
is always a
Teach
two-way
me
thing.
anything.
realistically,
I'm joking, no?
I like I said, I just need to be sure that it's a two-way thing,
Yeah.
right? When we say one should learn from the other, I think that
Say it. Release yourself.
millennials do a lot of teaching to Gen Zs, right? And
You have the big brother syndrome.
I have the big
You
brother
do,
syndrome. I
big time.
think the reason.
Unfortunately, it's not even a big brother.
Like you see yourself like you're this millennial big brother. You listen to me, and I know the part that you end up with. That's how you sound.
So the thing is, I have, unfortunately for me,
So you're
I
saying
have
there's nothing
had.
to learn from babies.
No, I haven't said that yet.
Oh yeah,
Unfortunately,
he's coming to it.
Unfortunately for me, I have always been in a position of leadership. Not necessarily leadership that has been given to me, leadership that has been assumed. Right? So we go to a place and everybody's sleeping and I've decided, okay, let everybody stand up. Right? So maybe you may see a little bit of that because I've been exposed to having to lead from a very young age. Right? But I feel like there are a lot of things that Gen Zs have picked from millennials, right? And the sad part is that in turn, millennials turn back and look at the Gen Zs and ask themselves, what are we exactly really taking? Right, which takes me back to my earlier statements.
Is this a unanimous
my earlier
agreed
statement
fact?
it may not exactly be for Gen Zs, right? But it takes me back to my earlier statement about irrationality. I think that the major thing I will love to take from a Gen Z is risk that is not measured. And
The
for a
ability
business
not to
person,
give any F.
yeah, for a business person, it's very difficult to learn that because you can't gamble with people's money. So when you want to take any risk, you have to carefully measure the risk and then take the risk. But if I were to pick anything, personal opinion now, if I were to pick anything from the Gen Z, it's just to wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to get a car and drive without going to driving school. Then I enter, whatever happens on the road, let it happen. I think that's about it. I'm thinking of other qualities. What these guys do with social media is simply amazing. Yeah. I don't know if millennials can truly learn what these guys do. And
you don't know if you can truly learn what these guys do.
You guys have a problem.
Okay.
So do you have a deficiency in that?
It does seem to me that millennials
I would
have...
rather not say.
Millennials have this when I say big brother syndrome, beyond what you think it means, it is simply
superiority.
This superiority complex that I am your senior. I've seen it all. Been there, done that, worn that
I
t-shirt.
think it's the duty of care.
But
I think it's the duty of care. And the truth is most millennials would rather, most Gen Zs would rather sit with millennials after all the noise making. Because the truth is that you are attracted to that care. You are attracted to that concern. After all the ginger, the person who comes in to do the cleanup.
So the question I want to ask you is, millennials, do millennials need care?
Do millennials need care? Mm-hmm. Of course they
Everybody
do.
does.
Okay, everybody does.
But the difference is that...
So you do not think your care can come from a generation that is beneath you?
No, it can. But mostly the difference...
Beneath. I deliberately used beneath.
Okay, so the thing is, when millennials look for care, we don't go to the guys above us. The reason we don't go to the guys above us is that they completely do not understand us. Right? So millennials are going to draw strength from their peers. Mm-hmm. Right? The baby boomers do not exactly understand the millennials. Right, so we are mostly going to draw strength.
Could we say they don't care?
No, they may care, but they don't understand.
But they don't know how to.
Yeah, how to express that.
Honestly,
care.
that is even happening to us. Now, there are some of the things that Gen Z do, and you are trying to wrap your head around it. I'm like, I do not understand.
Yeah, you know the difference. Yeah. The difference is that millennials even try to.
Yeah.
So we try to understand. Okay, why is this person doing like this? And okay, what could it be this way? Could it not be? The baby boomers know how to flog. So the moment you don't do what they think is right, the not sparing the rod,
punishment comes in.
Right, it comes in.
You can't negotiate.
Do not. Yeah. Right, those of us, some people who are millennial parents, you would see that they are the people who have actually started this culture of not beating.
Yeah,
started this culture of discussing.
Yeah.
Started this culture of punishment war, punishment corner.
Gentle
millennials are
Thank you very
parenting
much.
Very
You understand?
different.
So when it has so fine, let me just wrap up my thoughts. Right, when it has to do with care, I feel like millennials draw strength from themselves, but the Gen Zs, after everything has been done, they look to the millennials for the cleanup.
You ask about what can be learned from
so
the Gen
literally
Zs.
you're still saying you clean up after us.
Can you hear what I learned from
All right, so but guys,
he wants to say what he learned.
No, I don't. Why? This cake is going to reach the roofs. So let's just put some nice icing on it and just possibly try to take this position of being prophets. What do we predict of the next generation?
Which generation is this? The ones in primary school.
Gen Alpha.
What are they called?
What do we?
What are they called?
They're called Gen Alphas.
They're the Alpha people.
Oh, they are the Alpha.
Oh, great.
And they would have to come and look up to this Gen Z.
Crazy thing to look up.
So
you see that sarcasm? You see what he just did?
My thoughts and prayers are
You see what he just did? This is the exact attitude you need to not be able to learn from Gen Zs.
But I do learn. But imagine Gen Zs as parents.
So
you imagine it.
Imagine me as a parent.
No, not you. You are a millennial. You are a Gen millennial. Gen millennial.
Okay, it looks like we'll wrap up this conversation by asking, do we learn because we have to.
No, that other question. We didn't answer the other question. The last question you asked. We didn't answer that question.
Yeah.
We didn't answer the
It's
question.
still connected now because if it's difficult or if we're already horrified, we've not even put words to it.
That's the thing about millennials are horrified.
You said we should predict.
Oh, yeah,
We said we should predict.
So how do we envision the next
I am not going to like the response. I want to censor this. I want to censor
for
this.
that, Nita.
Okay,
So they want to censor this.
Start your prediction.
So they want to censor this. So I am not going to really come from a predictive angle, but you see, these two gentlemen here have.
You're changing the topic.
I'm not. These two gentlemen here, right, have given us a purview of how millennials feel about Gen Zs, right?
Okay.
And if you want to, coming from that angle now, it's obvious until two generations can learn to work together, the future is going to have problems.
We are learning to
Are
work
we not
together. That's why
working together?
we are marrying your generation.
You're doing it because you have to.
No, yes,
You're doing it because you have to. And then at the same
don't
time,
have to. We've chosen to help.
that's the thing.
We don't
Stop
have to.
seeing us as problem cases.
Tell her to predict.
You need to stop seeing us as problem
Okay,
cases.
you guys are not problem cases. You guys are problem.
You need to stop seeing us as problem cases.
Predict.
You are predicting the Gen Alpha.
Okay, the Gen
The one
Alphas.
after the Gen Zs.
Oh, you are heading for one hell of a ride, I assure you.
Okay, I agree now.
One hell of a ride, I assure you.
So funny. Mr. Mo, I think you understand better. Please, Messi and Ronaldo,
Yeah.
where did they fall?
They're millennials, yeah.
Beautiful. How long have they been holding this title of?
Over 15 years.
Where are these Gen Z footballers?
They're
I know
on
you just
Instagram.
meant- I
They're on
just want-
Instagram.
I really just wanted to know, but
They're on Instagram.
But let me just predict. Let me just.
They are Instagram footballers. They are content creators doing football content.
Remember, I said at the beginning of at the beginning I said
Nita will fight you after
at the
now.
beginning I said millennials are pace setters, right? I feel like we have set the pace for them. Using football as an example, we have set the pace for them, gone above and beyond. And now,
So the future generation.
you see, now the thing is that the Gen Alphas, right, are going to now come and take over from.
The millennials.
Well, I predict that the Gen Alphas
Kevo is a nice person.
I predict that Gen Alphas are going to do better than Gen Zs, and the millennials will still have to look over.
Okay, I want to agree with Nita. Now this is personal. It is very personal.
You guys are going to be absolutely obsolete when it comes to relating with Gen Alphas.
No, the point is that we are going to care for everybody.
No. That's the thing.
duty of
You
care
have
is
a
on
care
us.
syndrome. You feel like
No,
everybody's
we
your
will
responsibility.
You better
So now
take
the
care of
problem.
yourselves.
No, wait.
Can you
The
guys take care of
problem.
yourselves?
Yeah, we can take
We
care of
will relate
ourselves.
with
Yes,
the
we
Gen
do take care of
Alphas.
ourselves.
We see.
Wait.
That is why
The
we
Gen
need Gen Z
Alphas are
wives.
going to
I've
be.
said this thing.
If you think that Gen Zs are everything outrageous, bizarre, grotesque out there,
your words, not ours.
then wait. I promise you that the Gen Alphas that are coming, you are going to be running to your dictionaries,
If
your
we could cope
encyclopedias, everything.
if we could cope with you guys, I mean,
That's
we
the
can cope with
problem.
anything.
You're using us
But
as
why?
a
Let me
yardstick.
put on the spot.
As a
Let me
yardstick.
put on the spot. Why would that
Make your
happen?
prediction.
Why would that
Make your
happen?
own.
Because I'm leaving after the Gen Z. No, my prediction is.
Gen Alphas are not going to be looking up to you guys.
No, they don't get to. Don't get to.
Let me make my prediction without
That's when
involving
you're
the
going
Gen
to really
Zs.
be stuck.
Gen
That's when you're
Alphas,
being stuck.
I want to make my prediction without
we're
involving the
listening.
Gen Zs.
Directly.
The Gen Alphas would be they would be very amazing generation because they would have social media, they will have technology that is designed by the Gen
They'll
Zs.
probably have time travel.
Hold on. What is designed by Gen Z?
No, at that time to be designed by Gen Zs.
No, even at that time it won't. Twitter,
Who did the template?
Twitter, Facebook.
I tried to be
Twitter,
nice. These guys
Facebook
are
are not
not
Gen
even
Z.
nice.
See, the problem is sometimes
I'm
you look
messing
at.
in this show.
Okay, sometimes you look at
Before
these
this
Gen Z
will
people.
cry.
This show is over.
These Gen Z people just have
As the
this.
conversation continues. Bye.